wrappers.
I think quite vividly of the projectionist beam in a cinema, and the atmosphere would be shimmering with tobacco smoke. Absolutely, everybody got a share of it, you know. Talk about passive smoking now. In that era, everybody was on the wrong end of smoking, and no one was aware, apparently.
For 40 years it was possible to smoke freely, and most people did. Cigarette pack design became an art form, and the pack we chose reflected the kind of person we were.
A packet of Woodbines, 5 for 2pence. A packet of 20 Woodbines would cost you 8pence. That was in the days when there was 240 pence to the pound. Now that 8pence would go into 240 30 times. So that for a pound note, you could get 30 packets of 20 cigarettes, which would be 600 cigarettes.
If you were poor, you had, Woodbines. But if you weren't poor or didn't want to be thought to be poor, you wouldn't show Woodbines around. You would keep them very quiet.
There was the Players' Weights and Woodbines, but girls didn't smoke those. They was quite infra-dig. They were for the boys.
They were for the down market.
Well, you said it.
Woodbines were the first mass-produced low-price cigarettes. Its image reflected the heroic manual labour of the working man. During the First World War, Woodbines were distributed in the trenches by a chaplain called Woodbine Willie. Many soldiers took up smoking and brought the habit home. The packs reflected smoking's military connections, portraying heroic battles and soldiers in striking uniforms.
As a child, we used to pick up the packets of Players' cigarettes, and we used to have fun cutting out round the Lifebuoy. And then we'd cut the sailor out round his head and his shoulders, leaving him in the centre of the Lifebuoy. And we'd collect hundreds of them and keep cutting them out, and then you'd loop one ahead over the lifebelt over the head of the others, and we'd make them into chains, necklaces, anchors.
All the cigarettes of the day included cigarette cards, series of one sort and another, and I got interested in them, and boys used to play games and dribble them off the wall, and I was into that world.
Women were used to adorn packs and cigarette cards, but rarely smoked themselves. If they did, they ran the risk of social disgrace.
It was generally considered one of the most objectionable things that a woman could do to be to smoke in public, up to about, say, 1935. Many examples of men marching up to women and slapping the cigarette out of their lips. When in the late 30s and beyond the Second World War, women began to smoke in public and carry cigarettes, the packs responded accordingly. Gentle, lissom hands holding cigarette holders, slightly closed eyes with long eyelashes, things that had never appeared on cigarette packaging before, appeared together with typography, colours and imagery in support of the beautifully feminine.
It was the done thing socially for everybody to smoke, more or less. And in my groups that I was with, I would smoke Duresk Minor. They were 5 for 2pence, I remember. They were quite small and they were filter tipped, and they were in a little creamy box. I think often, not so much because you enjoyed smoking, it was the thing to do, and I have to say I gave more away than I smoked.
Every snapshot, as they called it,
of my family around that time appeared. Every one of them had a cigarette in their fingers, between their fingers. I wasn't a real smoker. I didn't inhale, but one did smoke. One had it in one's hand.
Well, it was a social thing.
It was a social thing.
In America, a cigarette was designed for women and the cocktail party scene. Its red filter tips disguised unsightly lipstick marks. But the days of the exclusively female cigarette were numbered, and Marlboro transformed itself from a quietly feminine to a positively masculine cigarette.
Filter, filter, flavor, pack or box. Get a lot to like. Get Marlboro.
The brands we chose not only reflected our gender, but our class, or rather the class we aspired to.
There are wonderful examples here of role models, rather fey men with their legs crossed, holding up their cigarettes and gazing in utter relaxation into the distance. And that's what you felt was for you, whereas a Kensington pack was very much somebody who had come to bring you cigarettes. A rather obsequious butler offered you one of these objects, his hand spread out, his thumb and finger gesticulating towards you. So you had all the wonder of being treated as if you were one of the upper classes.
Of course, the upper classes eschewed packs in favour of cigarette cases.
They rather sort of showed off their cigarettes and their cigarette cases, particularly men. You would take it out of your pocket and you'd hand round a smart cigarette in a smart gold case with your initials on it.
One of my favourite brands is Passing Clouds, which is a Players C brand cigarette for the upper part of the market. The cigarettes were oval. They were in pink packaging, and on the front had a picture of a cavalier, anachronistically smoking a cigarette. Fascinating images, because before 1900, that image of puffing out a wisp of smoke is very much associated with death, with vanity, with the futility of human ambitions. But the Player's designer has actually incorporated this on the cigarette as a sign of relaxation, of enjoyment of the product.
Packs and advertising often reflected a healthy outdoors lifestyle, and some even suggested smoking had positive benefits.
Well, we're given the impression that cigarettes was something that you could take without any fear because it would help the congestion of the lungs. We did believe it. We did believe that TB and other related chest infections benefited from smoking.
Pack design had begun to change to more graphic images as early as the 1930s, but it was in the 1960s that pack art changed forever. It became clear that smoking had health implications, and pack design was restricted by law. No imagery was allowed which would attract people to smoking. Ironically, the future of pack art had unwittingly been predicted in the 1920s on a pack of Kimona Nails cigarettes.
Grab yourself a mug of something warm and comforting as Rappers next Tuesday here on BBC Two looks at hot drinks. Same time, 10:20.